Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We have come to the final lap on the show. And in any free democracy, a free press is one of the most critical pillars of accountability and transparency, if I do say so. However, in Nigeria, press freedom continues to face significant challenges. Now, from intimidation to arrest, journalists often risk their safety to expose the truth. Now, this reality came to the forefront once again with the detention of investigative journalist Fisayo Soyombo at an oil bunkering site in the Niger Delta. His detention by the Nigerian army has reignited conversations about the shrinking space of press freedom in the country. Fisayo is no stranger to controversy or danger. His His groundbreaking investigative reports have actually exposed corruption and malfeasance in high places. And his arrest and subsequent release underscores the risk faced by journalists who dare to uncover the truths many would prefer remain unhidden. Now today, we'll delve into his recent experience from his detention to his startling revelations about oil bunkering in Nigeria, thriving menace. That's a thriving menace that, impacts our economy and also the environment.
So joining us, like she said, Fisayo Soyombo himself is here with us. You are welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Mazino.
Oh, you brought
Thank
the hoodie.
Dashan.
Okay, that's interesting. Fisayo, please, I would like you to give us a very detailed picture of exactly what happened just before and during your arrest by the Nigerian army.
Okay, thank you. So I was working on an undercover investigation on oil bunkering. Without saying too much, that's a story that should interest the Nigerian army, that should interest the government, because oil is a live wire. Of course, it shouldn't be. We should be able to diversify, go into agriculture and all that. But we do know that oil is so. The government should be interested, and the army should be happy to have found a journalist, investigating illegal oil bunkering. The plan was to steal crude. The plan, as I've done with previous stories, I need to emphasize, as I've done with previous stories, the plan was always to go through the entire process and, as a result, obtain hard evidence, So it was also to go to them and say, okay, I'm trying to do this business. They gave me a budget of 18 to 22 to 23 million naira. I first have to go and look for that money. Yes. So I got connected to the bunkerers. We had meetings. I first flew to Port Harcourt to have one meeting. We talked, went back, they went to look for the money, and then we kicked off. We had to rent a truck. We had to speak with those who would steal the crude. We had to find a date. So the plan was to get the crude and to go sell in Enugu. Because the places they usually sell stolen crude, Enugu, one under to be Abia or Anambra. And sometimes they go as far as Kano. But we were to go to Enugu. It's a ring. The buyers are waiting. It's not like, we would get there and start looking for them. The buyers were waiting. So on Wednesday, the early hours of Wednesday, we got to the site. So I have to go back to check my GPS so I had to have limited interactions with my phone. I didn't know those places, the bushes we went to. So I would just, use my tracker to take a screenshot of the location and save. So I have to go back to speak in specific times. But we were at where we were supposed to load the crude. In any case, we would have left before the army. The army claiming they got intelligence, they tracked, the truck was bad. We got in, and they needed the guy to reverse it into that past, a hose from the site they were stealing the crude from to that footpath in the forest. And the guy was reversed. He first came down, he grumbled, he walked all the way to like a 5-minute walk to go have a look, grumbled, came back into the truck. The clutch of the truck was bad. So he struggled and struggled and struggled with it. If that truck was good, we would have left before. The spokesman of the army was lying that they got intelligence. We would have left before them, So then they got there. Of course, when I saw movement, first thing is that some security operatives, I won't name the agency, were to come, to guide, to make sure that no one else arrested us. They were paid for it. Because when the army says, oh, how can you do this kind of investigation without carrying us along? Oil bunkering cannot stop until security agencies do their job. They collude, they get paid to look away. And that's basically how we got to the stage of saying we could move that. Paid a number of people in different security agencies to look away while we were moving the crude. So when I saw, like, a van come and, first thing as a journalist, I ducked. You have to hide first to know what's happening. So I ducked. I didn't even go far from, the footpath where they came out from. I just ducked for a while. After a while, I called the bunkerers to say, look, what's going on here? And they said, no, it's not a big deal. It's just some people that were not settled. So they're having a conversation and they would resolve it. So I was there for a while. After another 30 minutes, I then, unlike what happened when they first came, when they came, I had the sound of a vehicle. Then I had footsteps, like running. So the security officers came out and were, chasing after some people. But unlike then, like half an hour later, things had calmed down. I was just hearing voices. So I then thought the settlement had, been completed. So I was pretty relaxed where I was. And I was trying to call the bunkers again. Then they saw, the light of my light. They flashed the torch. Who is there? And I came out. Of course, if I didn't know, if I felt that there was trouble, I would still have run. But I just thought the settlement had then been done. So I came out. And that's when, they grabbed me, took my phones, took everything. And there were so many of them, civil defense, army, some private or civilian security outfit. I knew that some of them would have been compromised, even though they came, for the arrest. So I couldn't tell them at that point I was an investigative journalist. What I did was play along. So I'm not the main guy. I was just told to, accompany them, monitor what they were doing. I played along. They came there around, I think, 2 a.m. We were there, different people interviewed me. I just played along. Around 5, or thereabouts, we left. They took me to a camp. And then they just told me to lie on, just sit down on the floor, the sandy floor. I was there, In the afternoon, they then took me to the headquarters, the 6th Div. And I thought, yes, these are the people in the offices, the superiors in the offices who made phone calls and ordered for me to be transferred there. I thought it was okay to then say, look, I'm not an oil bunkerer. I'm an investigative journalist working on this story. I did that. I told them to confirm. They were like, oh, what do you mean? An investigative journalist can also do oil bunkering. What if you had succeeded with the bunkering? We would not have seen any story. You would have claimed that, we would have kept quiet. If you didn't succeed, now you didn't say that you have a story. And I said, no. There is a track record. I've gone to prison undercover. There are only 2 journalists on this continent who have tried that. The other person is Anas Aremeyaw. I've gone to prison and spent 8 days in prison, experiencing the process. Spent 5 nights in the police cell. I spent 10 days in a psychiatric hospital. When I put my name to a story, it's about me experiencing it and giving hard evidence. I got myself trafficked to Burkina Faso. You offer Nigerians dollar-paying jobs and tell them to come to Burkina Faso. And I got myself trafficked. I spent 3 days on the road and 3 days back. So I tracked an orphanage job that was selling babies for 19 months. And I bought a baby. I paid 2 million naira for the baby. And just before I released the story, I took the baby to NAPTIP. So I told them that if I had, completed this process, I would still have come back to army to say, this is what I found out, come and respond. Now there's a track record of how I have gone about my investigations. I did one earlier this year on smuggling. Went to the border, brought in 100 bags of rice, experienced the process. When I was done, I called the spokesman of customs and allowed him to respond. I gave him the chance to respond. He did not. So the track record is there. That is what this guy has done over the years. So you have enough online to establish my identity. Of course, they knew I was an investigative journalist. They went online, they checked my profile. They then piped low and said, oh, they will take me to the house of the commanding officer of the most senior army officer in the anti-bunkering unit. Went there. They gave me food, allowed me to watch Liverpool, Real Madrid, Champions League, meaning they knew already that I wasn't a criminal. So why did they detain me? Which leads to the conversation on press freedom. you already know that this guy is a journalist. There are other people in the cells that they took me out of to go to the house of this senior officer. They didn't have that privilege of sitting with him, eating food made from his house, watching TV. That's because they already knew that I wasn't a criminal. So why then did they hold me for 2 more days? If the information had not filtered out, I would still be in that cell by now.
You spoke about information and how it filtered here and there. How did that play in the dynamics here, the information that you revealed to the 6th Division of the Army?
So something else that I forgot to say is that the army did not get any intelligence to track those people. One person who did not get money, in the bribe, alerted them. It was someone who was unhappy. As a matter of fact, when they took me to that camp, the camp is close to Port Harcourt refinery. 3 of their men there said it in different languages. One said, when we there, when I don't give us money, and I think say if you pull, you think you can pull that kind of operation off in our backyard without settling us. Another one said,
This was who now specifically? Who was it?
One of the security, maybe a soldier or a civil defense. Yeah, there's a camp there. Okay. Yes. So it's either a soldier or a civil defense official who was saying
they're in the know. They're in
yes,
the process.
Yes. To say you thought without paying us, you would in our backyard, you carry that kind of operation, you pull it out successfully. That's not possible. Another one said, "You be Mumu. Why did you come out?" I said, "I thought it was a settlement conversation because settlement. We don't see any money for here. We didn't get any money here. So it's not like some special intelligence led to the presence of the army on the scene. It's that someone who was offended that the money did not circulate to him, in the security setup, alerted them. Now, you asked the question of how it played out that the information got out. That's not something I can say online. Yeah, it's a security. But of course, if you do the kind of job that I do, one thing that is important is you have systems in place for ensuring that wherever you end up, it may take a while, but people have to know. You don't just go there without making arrangements. Say, okay, so if something goes wrong, what is plan A, what is plan B, what is plan C, what is plan D?
Now speaking of information, I in your piece, I actually read a part where you said that some information you gave the army filtered to the, bunkerers.
Yeah.
Can you explain that part?
Yes, so I was taken into 6 Div around evening. We got there maybe like 4 or 5, and I told them straight away that I wasn't an oil bunker. I was an investigative journalist and private detective. And I was shocked that when I got out Friday evening, I was, to my shock, bunkers were telling me who I was. Like, they called us from 6 Div. I'm quoting the smuggler, he said it in Pidgin. Said they called us from 6 Div and said, "Where did we find you? That you are an investigator." These exact words, that you are an investigator. We now started checking your profile. We saw interviews you granted TV stations. Is that true? This is a very serious situation that the army gets, let's even say that I'm an oil bunker, gets a suspect and you interrogate him. And at the point of release, oil bunkers
Have your intel.
knew almost all the things he told you. Now they were upset that I embarked on this kind of project. I didn't carry them along. That revelation actually vindicates me that it was the right decision to not carry the army along. And you see security, again, coming back to press freedom, security operatives, security agencies, get offended when they hear any other person use the word investigate. Say you are investigating as journalists. Who are you to investigate? That's our job. No, you as police, excuse me, for instance, you can investigate and prosecute. As a journalist, I can also investigate. Just like I can prosecute, I investigate and publish. A journalist can investigate crimes. A journalist can investigate corruption, can investigate every single thing that the police think they can investigate. The difference is just that the journalist cannot prosecute. His duty ends with releasing it to the public. So there is a glaring lack of knowledge about the roles, the powers of the Fourth Estate in the armed forces. The police, the army, navy, in a lot of them, they just don't want to hear you use the word investigate. You're telling me, oh, but we bring other journalists, even foreign journalists, we take them to the bunking site if someone wants to do a news, yes, if someone wants to report a news, yes, you can. But an investigation anyway has to be independent.
I wanted to take you back again and touch on the anatomy of this syndicate. You spoke about meetings, flying to the Niger Delta to have these meetings. What kind of people were you having meetings with? Were they all sweaty and with oil all over them, or were they wearing suits and ties? What kind of people are involved?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I cannot answer that question because of the Nigerian army. Now, when FIJ tweeted that I was in detention, FIJ never said anything about oil bunkering. It's not like they couldn't have put it out. It's not like nobody at FIJ knew what story I was working on. But the army then rushed out to say, oh, if the army wanted to be as professional as it gets, it would have been, we found him at a suspicious site and we needed him to establish that he's a journalist. That's all. But now you've come to tell oil bunkers that this guy was investigating you. That's essentially what you have done. You've set oil bunkers on my trail. You've compromised my security, you know. And these are the things that impede the building of trust between the media and public institutions. So how can I trust you if you compromise my security in that manner? How can I trust you if you grill me, I tell you stuff, and I get out and oil bunkers are aware? You know, I already have low trust in public institutions, and I don't hide it, and I can explain it. The most painful example, and it's painful, and I'm not going to hide that I am pained that this happened. The orphanage home that I tracked that was selling babies, I bought a baby, you know, spent maybe like 5 million or thereabouts or a little more on that story, you know, including the 2 million with which I bought that baby. And just before I ran the story, I took the baby to police. Police rejected them. We took the baby to NAPTIP. Nobody said, oh, let's recover what this guy, you know, spent on it, what the organization spent on it. And then I did not hide that I was interested in the welfare and well-being of that baby. So I would go, and when I couldn't go, we had an arrangement with NAPTIP that my representative, whom I formally introduced to them and they knew, would come once every month. They gave us the day and the week of every month to come. And that person was always available, or I was available. This girl's birthday, the baby's birthday, we bought gifts, we went back. Christmas, bought gifts, went back. We were following up. One day, on the appointed day, my contact went there, and NAPTIP said, you can't see the baby. Till today, please, I want Nigerians to ask NAPTIP, especially their immediate past DG, what did they do with that baby? And why did they slam the door on us? And how do they think journalists can then trust public institutions? You know, because when things happen and public institutions make an announcement, government says we have inaugurated the committee, and we attack them and say, no, this is you are just trying to paper over the cracks. And then they say, oh, give them the benefit of the doubt. How do you get that benefit of the doubt when things like this happen? Someone spent his organization's resources doing your job for you. You should be happy to collaborate. And then the person brings the baby, because at the end of the day, I can't overreach my powers. I'm a journalist. I can only write. By law, I shouldn't be in custody. A baby should not be in my custody without the knowledge of NAPTIP. I've done what I should do by law. Why do I wake up one day and you say I can't see the baby? Why?
So still in this, you know, same line, as a frontline journalist, can you help us rate press freedom under this particular administration?
1/10.
Why is
1/10. Statistics. Well, as of 2 months ago, a data journalist was telling me well over 100 journalists had been arrested, detained, in 1 year of the Tinubu government stay in power, you know, at the cell at Sisdiv, where I was kept, there's a woman who has been there for 4 months. That woman did not commit murder, you know. But that's a diversion. You have security agents pick up journalists and disappear them. The guy on Twitter that was picked, Pidom, you know, if the information hadn't filtered out, nobody would have known. I was arrested. That's the end. They gave explicit orders. This guy should not touch a phone. Nobody should give him. And I said, I want to talk to my lawyer. You can't hold me here. You've established that I'm a journalist. If you claim to be who you are. No, it's not about if, but I need to speak with my lawyer. I have a lawyer and I want to call my lawyer. And they said no. You know, my Daniel Ojukwu, a reporter with FIJ, did an investigation. Someone in government felt she's so powerful, sent the police to abduct him. They picked him because the police can arrest, which is, we are the police, we have a license to arrest you, and you get to the police station, you can call your lawyer. They held him incommunicado. That's not the only experience. You know, so you have lots of, now people are afraid. The National Cybercrime Center, which by the way does some good job, you know, in terms of trying to track financial crimes, has then been turned into an agency for oppressing journalists. You know, you saw Femi Olatunji of First Nation, how, you know, masked operatives abducted him and they disappeared him that way. Look, even if a story is false, under the provisions of the law, what are you supposed to do? File a lawsuit, you know, and let the person prove, you know, their case in court. I am not a journalist who would come public and say, oh, you can't do anything to it. If a journalist has published a false story, if a journalist has collected brown envelope to falsify stories, to kill stories, and you have evidence, yes, institute a lawsuit against the journalist, prove your case in court. But in this regime, you know, and the police spokesman still went ahead to defend it and say they can pick up anybody and still not allow the person have access, you know. So it's not like this is novel that, you know, journalists have their freedom tampered with, but it has become more brazen in this government. It's become more brazen.
Interesting. How far would you say the Nigerian army were responsible for foiling your investigation? Have they absolutely ruined it, or is it still salvageable?
So that's not really what is on my mind right now. And that's why I couldn't answer your question on the location. What is on my mind right now, what I'm worried about is the army compromising my security and the implications for my safety and how I need to rethink my security strategy. That's really what I'm worried about now. It's unthinkable that the army went forward to say, essentially telling oil bunkers, this guy was after you. So what do you expect them to do with that information? To say, let's try to take him down before he gets that story out. So that's really what I'm worried about. Now, my worries have nothing to do with whether I have a story or not, but it's just how to keep safe. And unfortunately, how to keep safe as a result of, I'll call it backstabbing, by an agency of the government, an institution that should be happy that I was at that scene. That should be saying, what did you find? And how can we collaborate? What arrests can we make? What intelligence can you share with us to help us foil, you know, oil bunkering? That's what I thought they would do, not compromise my security. And that's more worrying for me than whether a story exists or not.
I'm still going to go back on that story and ask how big this menace is, because you have first-hand information, oil bunkering in Nigeria, who's involved?
It cannot stop. It cannot stop because what needs to be done for it to stop will not be done.
Who is involved?
The most powerful people in this country. The most powerful people in this country. Don't forget, the level that I investigated was, you know, the level of going to steal crude from the pipelines and passing it into trucks. Huh? We haven't talked about the ships that come into the country, lift crude, unaccounted for. We haven't even reached that point. Just at the point of people going to, steal crude from pipeline, attach hoses, and divert to, and then you get to the headquarters of the army in the south, and you speak, and everything is out. It tells you that some of the highest people in security, in armed forces, are involved. And of course, if people like that are involved, then the political powers are involved as well. Because, just like Peter Obi said, oil is not sweet that you put in your pocket. I'm not the one. If I wasn't aware that Peter Obi made that statement until yesterday when people started putting, appending the video to my tweet, oil is not sweet that you put in your pocket and you go away. If a ship is berthing in Nigeria, it can't be done without government. If it's leaving, it can't be done without government. But with what I've seen, at the level of putting crude in, we were to take 50,000 liters of crude, and there was a second truck that was to load that night. So that's 100,000 liters. That's 100,000 liters of crude.
This is crude. This is not refined product.
No, this is crude. Yes, this is crude.
So it would have been taken to where now? The proper refinery or one of these makeshift refineries?
No, it wasn't. This wasn't going to a refinery. So I understand that there are some factories somewhere that use raw crude.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, now that you have been compromised, do you think you would still go ahead with the investigation? And also, while we wrap up, what advice do you have for other investigative reporters, following a similar path?
So as I said, question of whether I go ahead with the investigation or not is, people think that I want to die, that I take risks carelessly. No. I take calculated risks. So I don't just go to anything. I know, I see signs that, yes, I can navigate the risk and come out. That's why I do it. I'm now at a state where I feel I've gone to the field and my life is unsafe. At this point, the story is immaterial. It's secondary. When I fix my security, then I can then think, is there a story or not? Advice to investigative journalists, you should know why you do it. You have to be sure why you do it. Your motivations have to be internal. All the things that are, your motivating factors have to be internal. In the last 24 hours, I've had so many people tell me, oh, stop doing this, leave Nigeria, all that. You have to know why you do it. And I know why I do it. This is what the purpose of my life is about. This is for the benefit of the country. All these investigations have nothing to do with adventure. When I went to Burkina Faso, got myself trafficked, people came afterwards to say, oh, you saved me. I had this offer. Of course, they were paying between 1.1 and 1.5 million to get those fake jobs. And people were coming to say, look, if not for you, I would have lost that money. That's the whole essence of investigative work, that it benefits the public interest. And once an investigative journalist is fine with serving the public interest, everything else is
Fisayo, we didn't know that we had been speaking for about 30 minutes because this is a very interesting piece of information that you brought our way. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
He's been trafficked, arrested, abducted, he's been to prison, and he's interacted with compromised security agents. Fisayo Soyombo is here with us, and a very interesting story that you've told, and we hope that press freedom is giving away in Nigeria onward, and I hope that this serves as an expose to that menace that we actually face. Thank you very much, Fisayo.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And with that, I think it's time for us to say our goodbyes for this weekend on a very, very bombshell note. Thank you very much. Dashin, I want to say a special thank you to you for being with us this weekend.
Fun hanging out with you.
You see, Fisayo, Dashin is normally not here. It's normally Judith. But this week she joined us, and it's been a fantastic experience.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for crowning it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, catch you guys next week for a Saturday edition. See you guys then. It's Mazino Appeal, Dashin Usman, and let's also add Fisayo Soyombo. Goodbye.